We now shall proceed with the main itinerary, that is the papers. So before we move on to the first paper, I now request all the dignitaries on the dais to please occupy the first row seats.
Mr. Rahul Khajure, we are honored to have him inaugurate a technical seminar with a highly significant topic, Casting the Future, Strategies to Win in the Global Marketplace. Please remember, speakers, you have a timer in front of you just for your reference. Thank you.
I'm not sure about time. Thanks, Balaji, for highlighting the time. I was not prepared for 20 minutes, but more than 20 minutes. We'll try to squeeze it. No, but I don't want to consume time of other speakers also, so let's try to do it quickly. So today, from a customer point of view, I'm talking about casting the future and strategies to win the global market. End of the day, we are here for a business, right? So we need to understand what is the customer mindset, what do we need from the supplier point of view. But then, before going into details, let's see some numbers. What is number 2 from a Foundry point of view? We spoke in the morning also. Huh? Yeah, so we are, India as a country, we are number 2 globally in terms of the casting production. What is 12 million metric ton per year? Yeah. This is the casting we produce out of India for the globe. What is the 70% APAC? Any idea? Yeah, so Asia Pacific contributes to 70% of global casting production and even revenue. Yeah, India and China together and Southeast Asia together. What is $241 billion? Yeah. So this is a global revenue of casting as a business, include ferrous, non-ferrous, everything put together. Annually, we bring a revenue of $241 billion of casting as a business. And what is 9% year on year? Yeah, so this is a growth, what is happening in India as on date in the casting business. Okay. Some interesting facts also from the maybe casting point of view. This is how the material distribution of a casting look like. Still, gray iron contributes significantly in terms of the overall casting business. 34% of gray iron, 26% of ductile iron, steel, then aluminum, and then rest non-ferrous comes in other. How does it look like in industry? So here is the figures. Automotive contributes close to 42% of casting consumptions globally. And then next biggest is the heavy machineries and equipment. No, this is globally. It's not a Volvo figure. These are global figures. So automotive is the biggest. Second heaviest is heavy machineries, and obviously the energy segment contributes significantly in terms of the consumption. So you know, like where is the business is and who are the customers you need to target, right? But then the world around us is quite complex. What is happening now and what was happened in the past. We are also talking about tariff situations now. We were gone through the pandemic, COVID issues. But then apart from that, there are many other challenges around us. We have a cybersecurity issue. We have AI in place. We have many more expectations from customers like decarbonization, sustainability, transparency. There are equal amount of government pressure, regulations, SBTi target, CBAM in place. People asking for a transparency and so on. So world is not normal around us. So a lot of challenges, but then we have to navigate through challenges. Right? But let's understand what is happening also in the market. So what we were producing before versus now is entirely different. So global and regional market also shows an increase in the trend of a cast component. Lot of expectation in terms of the weight reduction as an example, lot of expectation in terms of the product integration from the OEM point of view. So there are good amount of increase in the casting demand happening. There are emerging applications like EVs or energy or infrastructure also demanding a casting as a need. So new avenues are also opening up for the casting business. There is an impact of reshoring and supply chain diversification also giving opportunity for some countries on the loss of the opportunities of the existing countries. As you know, in Europe, more and more regulations coming in terms of the environmental point of view. More and more foundries are shutting down in Europe, which is obviously an opportunity for someone else, like foundries in India. Technology and process are also changing. As we also talk about the challenges in terms of the availability of workforce, automation, robotics in molding, core making, finishing, inspections are also coming up. 3D sand printing for the complex mold, faster prototyping is also coming up. We were also discussing in the morning that there are a concept where you may not have a molding line in the future. You will have only the sand printers. You don't need a tool room. You don't need a pattern shop. You just need a sand printers and then print the mold and pour the casting and get the castings out. Concepts like digital twin simulations is known, but then digital twin is something coming up in the segment. Energy efficient process like melting, pouring and technologies are also coming up. Right? A lot of changes on technology side. Then talking about sustainability and compliance, there is also a lot of transition happening on expectation of low carbon and fossil free product. Expectation is also you need to consume more of a renewable source of energy to reduce your emission. But then also meeting a global ESG and OEM's sustainability target. Whomsoever is exporting to Europe, in coming years you need to file for a CBAM to make sure that your emission is lower than the average of typical European companies. So more and more compliance issues are also coming up. There are many more advancement also on the metallurgy and material science happening. We were talking about initially typical gray iron, typical gray ductile iron, but then more and more high alloy steel, high alloy ductile irons and gray irons are coming up. We were also talking about moving from the conventional ductile iron to high strength ductile iron, which is replacing 500 by 7, typical grade to 500 by 14, which is relatively high strength material. There are also increasing demand in terms of the wear resistance and heat resistance alloys in the industries. But then a lot of business and collaboration opportunities also in place. Expectation is how foundries can become a tier 1. As an example, in US, typically machining supplier is a tier 1. Most of the OEMs in US, Freightliner, Daimler, Volvo, or many companies, machining supplier is a tier 1. But in India, foundries are a tier 1. And then you outsource the machining or you do machining in-house. So this integration is important, a collaboration is important, because end of the day, for a customer, we expect one-stop solution. So there are also equal amount of partnership opportunities within the supplier base, within the startups, and within the different competitors also. But what will be the future-ready foundries? What we expect the foundries to have a kind of a data-driven decision-making. It's not about my experience or my perception about the outcome, but it's more about data-driven decision-making using IoTs or AI as a tool. Building a workforce for the future need, which we say about Industry 4.0, and building resiliency in the raw material, which is one of the challenge. But then a lot of things is happening across the globe. But what is the problem? Charles Catherine, once he said the problem well stated is a problem well defined, right? Half solved, right? So well-defined problem is almost solved. So we need to understand what is the problem, why we are not able to grow, why we are not able to capture the business markets and all. So what are the challenges? So these are the three major challenges what we have in the industry as of now. First is more about raw material pricing volatility, specifically on the steel and aluminum. Ever-changing pricing. So as an example, like Chennai is also an automotive hub, right? You have a Daimler, Nissan, and so on, automotive company. And you also have many foundries in and around Chennai. Do you get a scrap from these companies? Where the scrap goes out of Renault, where the scrap goes out of Daimler, where the scrap goes out of these companies, automotive companies. But then you buy a scrap all the way from Mumbai, you import the scrap all the way from China, you import the scrap all the way from Europe, right? So this is one challenge because we are working in isolation. We are not working in collaboration with our customers. Second important aspect is environmental regulations. Many foundries are facing a challenge. As an example, currently you have a tariff issue because of US. You are losing a business out of US. But tomorrow you may lose a business of Europe also. Why? Because CBAM in place, and then you may have to reduce your emission to secure your existing business. Third important aspect is the skilled labor shortage. Still, our dependency on a migrant labor are relatively high. So we need to upgrade our foundries and our traditional way of working, and this is the most important challenge. So what is the way forward? What we say way forward is the quality and sustainability. Quality not only of the product, but also on the process, also of the business, and sustainability not only about the emission, but also the sustainability as a whole for the business. So let's quickly talk about quality. I'm not here to talk about the quality tools, okay? You are expert in terms of the problem solving, you know various tools of the quality solving, but then I have one small interesting video to understand what is the root cause, right? So typically we do all this, we are using all these tools which is in the slide. We use a concentration diagram, Gemba, we do flowchart, root cause analysis and all those things. You may have a presentation in coming days and you are expert. I don't want to explain here, but then just interesting slide to reflect how the root cause looks like.
Mr. Mehmet had always cared for his garden as its most precious asset, watering his flowers and talking to them. That morning, he was baffled to see his garden getting ravaged by the cats. What would have those cats been doing in his garden? First, he tried to shoo them off, but immediately after turning back to home, he saw other cats breaking in. He began to think about a plan to banish the cats. He thought about buying a dog. That would work, but it would mean that the dog might ravage his garden. Eventually, he decided to buy a toy dog, making a constant barking sound. This might scare the cats off. Next morning, Mr. Mehmet woke up with a huge headache from the barking sound, and he saw his garden ravaged again. There had to be some other reason behind that. A specific thing attracting the attention of the cats. Only then he asked the important question, why? Why do the cats invade my garden? Yes, rats. It had to be the rats, drawing the attention of the cats. Upon carefully investigating his garden, he got the specific tracks he was looking for. Rats had infested his garden indeed. He immediately went out to buy some rat traps. In theory, he would get rid of the cats when he banished the rats from his garden. But city rats were already used to these kinds of traps and somehow managed to avoid them. Mr. Mehmet then asked that vibrant question again. Why? Why do those rats invade my garden? Voila! It definitely should be the cheese. Every morning he would serve his mother cheese and a glass of milk on a breakfast tray. Mr. Mehmet decided to observe his mother. He found out that his mother threw the cheese away in the garden every morning. The rats must have smelt the cheese. This time he directed the important question to his mother. Why? Why do you throw the cheese away? His mother said she didn't enjoy the smell of the cheese, but she didn't want to hurt his feelings, and she just threw the cheese away rather than saying she didn't like it. Right after hearing that, Mr. Mehmet changed the cheese brand that he'd been buying. Once he'd done this, his mother began to eat the new cheese instead of throwing it away. Sometime later, the rats stopped appearing in the garden, and with the absence of the rats, the cats ceased to enter the garden. Eventually, Mr. Mehmet had resolved the problem of his garden getting ravaged by the cats just by changing the brand of cheese he bought.
Interesting, right? So, most of the time we perceive, okay, there is a defect, this can be a solution. Okay, ask melting guy, ask core guys to repair it. But then, in Foundry how it works, there are many more variables associated. So important question is, ask why. Okay, deep dive. Don't judge too quickly and avoid perception. So here in the beginning, Mr. Mehmet thought about remedy based on the symptoms, right? He thought about, okay, having a mouse trap and so on. But then, over the period, what he realized, first he need to go deep, understand what is the root cause, and then define a solution, find a remedy. So, important question is, don't perceive in the Foundry to be expert of everything, because we feel like, okay, we know everything, but then there are many more challenges and views about situations. So how do we fix the problem permanently? This is a typical graph of effort versus effectiveness, where we see we are putting a lot of effort in terms of increasing the inspection. Sometime we came across with the situation where some foundries will say, I am doing 100% inspection, I am doing 200% inspection, I am doing firewall inspection, we are doing multiple stage inspection. But then we are putting a lot of effort in terms of inspection, but our efforts in terms of the process optimization and standardizations are limited. And the expectation is we have to focus more on improving the process and standardizing the process. Moment this aspect is taken care, then obviously you can reduce the amount of inspection and elimination of the issues. So this is important from not only the solving the casting defect point of view, but also from the business challenges also, right? So we have to take this as a mindset and a learning and standardize the process, improve the process, and reduce our inspection. So this is the first aspect of opportunity, what we say. If the quality is taken care, then most of the aspect has been taken care. You are leader in a quality, and then obviously business will come to you. But then second important aspect, what we see is the sustainability, right? So this is the world which we want to pass on for the next generation. But why everyone is talking about sustainability? What is that? What is that happening? Right? Anyone has seen this color-coded graph before? So this is a color-coded graph, which or the image of temperature distribution across the Earth's surface by NASA. So this was released a few years before by NASA, where blue color shows relatively less temperature and yellow or red shows relatively higher temperature over the period of a time, considering 1951 as an average, right? So this is what we see over the period of a time. The temperature has changed over the surface of Earth. So temperature scale, if you see, most of the guys, if you know the simulations, here on the left side is a scale where the highest temperature is on the range of plus minus 2 degrees Celsius. So what we see post-industrial revolution, the temperature specifically over the polar region has increased by 1 degree or sometime going beyond 2 degrees. So this is an alarming situation, and which is also causing a global warming. So this is the reason we are talking about sustainability, because Foundry is an energy intensive segment. We also consume a lot of energy and also generate a lot of emission. But in this direction, sustainability landscapes is also changing. We have many more legal requirements, BRSR, CBAM, SBTi, CSR, and many regulations. Okay, but then green certification, green finance is also coming in place. But when it comes to automotive industry, what does it mean? For us, it means our product, which is coming from the raw material to the finish, has to be taken care in terms of our emission, for which there are nowadays many more digital tools available to track, capture, and then define and understand what is our emission associated with the product. But what is the total emission? Do we know? So this is the number. Annually, there is a 36 billion ton of CO2 emission happening from all the industries. So what are the industries? So these are the typical industries what we have. Agricultural industry, and then commercial buildings and energy supply contribute significantly in terms of our emission. And what we do a casting. We supply a casting for all the segment. We are supplying casting for automotive, energy segment, infrastructures, and so on. Okay, so our contribution in terms of the emission is also significantly high. But on a typical vehicle, on a typical truck, how does it look like? For typical truck, 85% of emission is coming from the tailpipe, which means when you burn the engine or burn the fuel and run the vehicle, there is an emission. And rest of the 4% emission is coming from the product, which is more of a scope 3 emission. Many OEMs are working in the direction to reduce their tailpipe emission. So 85% of emission will be taken care by changing electric vehicle or going for fossil fuel and so on. But then manufacturing emission, here is your contribution, and we need a support from you guys to reduce the product level emission. So how this is happening, this is a kind of a typical graph on the transition where we are here. We are more of a IC-based transport solution provider, but then going forward, By 2040, we are targeting also to go for net zero. Okay, how do we go for a net zero? Yes, these are the solutions. We may have a battery electric vehicle, we may have a fuel cell electric, and also IC-based engine for some of the underdeveloping countries or developing countries where there may not be a fossil fuel, but we may be using a biofuel, right? So I have one example of the transition, what is happening. We were also talking in the morning about a hybrid vehicle or fuel cell vehicle. How does it look like, right? Electric vehicle can be used for the cities. It cannot be used for a long distance. So there comes the solution of hybrid, and this will be a game changer for the future. So a short video about how the hybrid or the fuel cell vehicle looks like.
Right now, Volvo Trucks is testing its first ever hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. While battery electric trucks are here to stay, they will not be the only heavy electric trucks on the road, because different transports face different challenges. Fuel cell electric trucks are designed for the most energy-demanding assignments. From day to night, they can keep going when there simply isn't time for charging, perfect for long distances and heavy loads, and in parts of the world where charging possibilities will be limited. To fuel them, you need hydrogen, one of the most abundant resources on Earth. The potential has no limit. The fuel cell on board generates electricity when driving, and the truck only emits water. So, take a closer look at this fuel cell electric truck. It will play an important role in the future of transportation.
So in future, if you have a hydrogen-based vehicle, a foundry, imagine a concept. You are a foundry, you are consume 600 kilowatt of electricity to melt the scrap. So there are solutions coming up in the future where you will generate your own electricity in a foundry. You don't need to depend on a grid to get the power. You will have your own power station generating electricity from the water, right? So that's also happening in future, and that is the reason we are talking about innovation. But in the process, there are many more challenges. So there are challenges in terms of the transitioning. When we say raw material availability, the initial cost is high, technology gap is high, supplier capability is also a challenge. Data availability is also a concern because we don't have a data of all the emission associated with the process. Green infrastructure is also kind of a concern, and we are working in isolation because each foundries are working in isolation. But then there are equal amount of opportunities we are talking about. When we did the launch with BRICS India, with MEA, we see there is a good amount of recognition in the market. Everyone is asking, customers are asking, can you give a green product to us also? And then they are also demanding to many more foundries, we need a green product from you guys also. Second important aspect is when we work in the direction of sustainability, obviously we have to innovate. We are trying to find a new out-of-the-box solution. I still remember when we were working with BRICS India, for a ladle preheating, there is typically you need a gas or diesel-fired preheater. There were no solution available in the market for electric preheaters. Then BRICS India had this idea in mind and then thought, okay, can we electrify? Then they found a company making a furnace. They work together and then find a solution out of the box. So in the process, we also innovate and find the out-of-the-box solution, which also gives a lot of opportunity in terms of the cost reduction. But obviously, when you do all the things, you have an access for the global market, and there are a lot of cost-saving opportunity. When we talk about innovation, I will also share one more example now in the next slide. The expectation is not only from our supplier base, but obviously we need to walk the talk. We need to innovate something which can motivate our supplier also to innovate. But then what we see, there are a lot of opportunities when we go for a green product, but then just a short video, how the innovation looks like. Right? So look carefully this particular truck and then give me a views, what exactly you are seeing. So when we talk about innovation, everyone is talking about fuel efficiency, energy efficiency, and so on. So in this particular truck, there is one major change. We are talking about reducing the resistance of a vehicle when the vehicle is running on road. So how the resistance is coming is, do you have any observation on this vehicle? Do you see something different on this vehicle? Oh, yeah. So we don't have a mirrors. So how do we see on the back side? Yeah. So this is a new aero vehicle, which is a kind of an aerodynamic vehicle. You don't have a mirrors at all. You don't have because you don't have a mirror, the resistance on the driving is reduced, which brings the fuel efficiency. Instead, you have a camera. Moment you have a cameras, then you can have a lot of data, and you can integrate the data for the performance of a vehicle also. So as we say, like, this is also one of the one of the innovation. If customers are also thinking about innovation, why not we from Foundry also think about innovation and try to have some solution out of the market? Right? So there are many more sustainability priorities, but then I'll skip. This is one important slide where I want to also touch upon, because we are expert in making a truck. We are not expert in making casting. We are not expert in making plastic product. We are not expert in software. But then what we do is we do a partnership. We collaborate. We collaborate with customers. We collaborate with our competitors. We do a partnership with our suppliers, with our dealers, and so on. So expectation is you also need to have a more and more partnership, because what we say, partnership is a new leadership. So at Foundry, what we can do? At Foundry, why not foundries and customers collaborate to find some new material? Why not foundries, universities, and customers collaborate to find some sustainable solution? Why not Foundry collaborate with equipment suppliers to make some out-of-the-box solutions, right? So in the past, AGVs were used only in OEMs. Now AGVs we see is used in foundries to move the scrap from one location to another location. We don't have tractors in place. We don't have vehicles. But then we also need more and more out-of-the-box solution. We need more and more partnership from you guys in future, right? So towards the end, just interesting video. We are already a circular solution company. Like Foundry is still in the past considered as a dirty job, but then in the new world is also considered as one of the circular industry, where you have a scrap of one industry converted as a finished product of which can be used for the subsequent business. But then how the circular economy looks like, this is one short video. With that, we can close the presentation.
Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, there's no landfill. Instead, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food, energy is provided by the sun, things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components, and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers, and alloys, so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long term. And the good news is, there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself. We have a fantastic opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
Yeah, so expectation is think out of the box and explore the circular economy in place. Currently, we are working more on a linear side, but then there are many more companies coming out of the box solutions, and then this can be a future. So to conclude, what we say, sustainability and quality are strategic. It's a strategic way forward, not an option. In the process, there will be obviously a lot of challenges, but then equal amount of opportunities also will be there. And the success factor will be collaboration, partnership, innovation, and supporting each other will be a future. So with that, let's shape the world which we want to live and pass on for the next generations. Thank you. We have overshooted time, but I'm not sure if you have any questions, so we can take any questions if they have.
Out of the box question. Okay, yeah. Europe and US teaching us for the sustainability and this thing. And what they are doing in Israel, Ukraine for destroying the mother nature.
Yeah, so those are political questions. Definitely, I can't answer.
No, it is not political question. It is the fact we are bombarding Earth like anything.
Yeah, true. So there are many more geopolitical situations which are not in our control. So it will be really difficult to put views on that. But then whatever is in our purview, we can work in that direction. Obviously, currently, as an example, we have a CBAM in place. But then it means if your emission is relatively higher, you have to pay tax. But do you know, Government of India is also working with the European Union to understand the CBAM. If, imagine, as an example, Breaks India, your emission is lower than the CBAM average, then CBAM authority should pay you extra for your work. So there are some concepts of carbon financing and carbon credits also in place where companies will get money on your initiatives which you are doing for the emission reduction. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
We can have further questions over the tea. Okay, one more question.
Myself, Prabhakaran. Sir, you talked about hydrogen-powered vehicles. When it comes to hydrogen-powered vehicles, I have two questions on that. One is, how are you addressing the safety aspect? Secondly, how the changes in the machine is going to affect the foundry industry?
Yeah, see, maybe on a safety point of view, first aspect is, even we were discussing in the morning, when the CNG was introduced in India, there was a concern how the gas will be utilized, but what will be the safety aspect taken care, because it's like you will be carrying a capsule, gas capsule, and there is always a risk in terms of handling the source of energy. But then there is a needed kind of investigation and innovation is already taken care to safeguard the fuel in the vehicle, because gas is quite explosive compared to even the fossil fuel. So it has to be handled very carefully. For that, needed safety arrangement is already taken care on the vehicle. When these solutions are on road, definitely you will be having more and more information. But then second aspect, you mentioned how it will affect the foundry industry. So what we see, there is a positive effect. There is a benefit for the foundry industry, because it's only the source of energy is changing from fuel to gas. It means you will still have a cylinder block and head, you still need an exhaust manifold, you will need flywheels, you will need other cast components. Only aspect is the profile will be different, geometries will be different, but there will be good amount of business opportunity for the foundries in the coming days. We are already working with some of the Indian foundries in terms of developing some of the solution for H2 ICE vehicles. So opportunities are there. Yeah.
So it was a very insightful presentation. We were looking at the light weighting, touched upon the light weighting of the vehicle. So one of the main options we see is going from iron to aluminum on the main this thing. Is any study done on the total CO2 footprint on an iron versus aluminum? Because aluminum gives more CO2 in terms of manufacturing. Is there any total definition of the CO2 done before this, along with this changeover studies?
Yeah, so the calculations are already done, and it's already available in maybe internet also. So typically for conventional foundry, 1 ton of iron casting has approximately 6 ton of CO2 emission, including scope 1, 2 and 3. It means including the raw material consumptions also. But whereas in case of aluminium, it's close to 18 tons. 1 ton of aluminium contributes to 18 tons of CO2 emission, which is 3 times higher than the iron casting. So aluminium definitely from sustainability point of view is not a preferred solution, because currently there is no green aluminium available. Still we need ingots coming all the way from Vedanta in India as an example, so which are primary source of energy. Then sustainability point of view is not a solution. Second, from the performance point of view also, yes, there was a perception that when we talk about lightweighting, everything will replace to aluminium. But then we still have many more applications which are critical in terms of the fatigue requirement, wear requirement, strength requirement, where aluminium cannot meet those requirements. Aluminium can have maximum like 300 tensile, but then in case of iron, we start with a 300, 320 yield. Our tensile goes up to 1000 also with ADA. So there are many more applications where you can't replace iron with aluminium. So based on the business case, we are taking a call, and at Volvo we have not seen a much drastic difference in terms of migration from aluminium to iron. There will be very few numbers which we are migrating. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Further questions, we shall have it over tea. Thank you again. As our organizing committee chairman said, it was a very, very insightful presentation covering varied aspects of the foundry industry's future, along with our interesting videos. A bigger round of applause, please. Sir, Chief Guest, sir, please be on stage. We would like to present you again. Now I call upon our organizing committee chairman, Mr. V. Balaji Krishna, to present an Angavastram to our chief guest. I now call upon Mr. K. Varadarajan, Governor of IIF Chennai Chapter, to felicitate our chief guest with a memento. Keep your applause going, gentlemen. Thank you. Now, I now invite you all for a tea break. The time is 11:05. As we are a little short on time, we will be strictly coming back in 15 minutes. So 11:20, the second paper will start. So please be here on time. Thank you.